Good morning, everybody. Thank you so much for coming out to our Thank You Teacher breakfast this morning. Hey, get you out of school and get you out of work. What a great way to start your day, huh? And this is so much better than it was a year ago when we had to cancel. So thank goodness that the weather is cooperating with us. I'm Jill St. James. Thanks again for everybody to come out. This is a day that we get to honor and recognize teachers from across our community and, of course, across our state. And this wonderful tradition is more than 30 years old. Now, as we proceed, please continue to eat your breakfast because they have prepared a lovely breakfast here for us at the Governor's Mansion, so we don't mind hearing, forks and spoons hit the plate, all right? It's part of the program. Before we begin, I would like to share a special memory about my favorite teacher because that's what this event kind of helps us do each year, because teachers are what you become. And so I was thinking back on it, and one of my favorite teachers was Mr. Russ Tompkins, who was our English teacher in high school and also for our drama club. And he told me the summer before our sophomore year that he had the fall play picked out and he had the perfect role for me. But he wasn't going to tell me what it was. So when it got to be the fall and he revealed it was You're a Good Man, Charlie Brown. Okay. And I thought, great, I'm Lucy. No, I'm Snoopy. So I really didn't have any lines. I got to bark a lot. I got to sniff the elementary school kids. I got to wear a dog collar. I got to dance on my doghouse and also sing for my supper. But it really was the highlight of my high school career. And I guess Mr. Tompkins must have known a drama queen when he saw it. So I can't fault him with that. But I do wish that I had taken a lot more public speaking classes from Mr. Tompkins, because that would have been really helpful for today. But anyway, so I have to thank Mr. Tompkins for helping me and in my further career later on down in life. So to welcome us this morning, I would like to introduce Dr. Steve Joel, the Superintendent of Lincoln Public Schools.
Well, good morning, everyone. What a delightful day to celebrate one of the most important professions in America, and that is what we do every single day with our children. I was thinking myself and Mr. Tompkins, and I would throw Mr. Adler in there. I would say that every one of us in this room has a teacher that you can look back on your life and your career and say they made a difference, and a big difference. And what's interesting about teaching, which, by the way, is a profession that makes all professions possible, is that sometimes we as people, as we grow and develop and we move on our journey, we sometimes don't realize how important a teacher was in our life. And it's a profession that is difficult. It's a profession that demands a lot. Not only do teachers have to be experts in delivering content, but they also have to be experts in nurturing and in loving and in caring and in motivating, and every day I see that in Lincoln Public Schools. And so for me, to you, I want to say thank you for the tremendous work that you do every day with our children. What an honor to be recognized by either your peers or a student, and thank you for your commitment and dedication to the teaching profession in Lincoln. We are so proud of what we're able to accomplish as a school district, and we're extremely proud that our community values the work that we do every single day. And that's because of what happens in the classroom. So many thanks to Jill, who's done this as long as I've been doing it. Many thanks to the governor's staff for allowing us to use this. Many thanks to our board members that are here as well, because you set the stage every single day for the great work to take place within our system. So congratulations. We'll look forward to hearing these tremendous testimonials. What a highlight of my spring. And yes, the weather has definitely cooperated with us today. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Joel. Next, we are going to welcome Nebraska Department of Education Commissioner Matt Bloomstead.
Yeah, and actually, as Dr. Joel mentioned, you live in, I just think, a great city, by the way. You live in a great place, and I'm really proud to be the Commissioner of Education. I was thinking about it. I don't know if many of you know, but I actually don't live in Lincoln anymore. We did. I have 5 children. They all started here. We moved to my wife's hometown. which means I will never be from Central City, Nebraska, because it just doesn't work that way when you move back to a small community. But the fascinating part for me is now we've been there almost 10 years, and my oldest daughter will be graduating from high school, and then she's coming to the University of Nebraska at Lincoln. But one story I have on her, and I just think about the greatness of the school that you operate as a district. My daughter, when she went kindergarten, first and second grade in Lincoln Public Schools, when she got to fifth grade in Central City, and it was something around math, she came home and said, "Dad, I learned that in kindergarten." And it's a little funny and a little not. But the reality is you have a very high standard. And I know one of the things that the high standards, the system itself that you've built has a remarkable power. But the power that actually exists, as Dr. Joel mentioned, is what you do every day as teachers. I mean, that's what really makes a difference. And when I talk to my staff at the Department of Education, I say, we have all these have-to-dos over here, but it's the get-to-dos where we make a difference. And teachers get to do what you do on a daily basis. It's remarkable. I got to say one thing to parents. Part of that is your interaction with teachers is so important. And so obviously, this is just a model example of how parents and teachers can be working together and thoughtful about improving our education system. So thanks to what you do. Students, it's really good to see smiling faces early in the morning. I know you were saying it got us out of school or got us out of work. It also got me out of bed, is what I was thinking. So it's a little early, but thanks to see everyone here today, and I really appreciate it and look forward to the stories that we're going to hear.
Well, if you had to drive down from Central City, yes, probably a long way. Thank you, Dr. Bloomstead. Now I would like to welcome Lincoln Mayor Lyrian Gaylor-Baird.
Good morning. I can honestly say that my life's been impacted by teachers really even before I was born. Both of my parents were high school teachers. And you know what the hardest thing is about having both your parents be teachers? The day you realize that not all adults get summers off. That was traumatic. But what I also didn't really appreciate or fully understand when I was growing up was just how much more teaching is. It's so much more than a job. It is a mission. It's a vocation, and it's an art. And the impact that you have on your students' lives is lasting and enduring, as is proof of this ceremony today. Outside of my parents, one of the teachers that had a big impact on me was my third grade teacher, Miss Druck. We're still friends. She wants me to call her Jackie now. That's really hard to make that transition. I still just can't do it. But every week she would read aloud to my class. I can still remember sitting with the window open in spring and the smell of the freshly cut lawn outside her classroom while she would read the Boxcar Children. It's one of my favorite memories of childhood. And when my youngest child was born, Miss Druck, Jackie, can't quite do it, she came to my house. I wanted her to meet my kids, and she brought a gift. And she brought the books she had used to read to us in third grade. And it meant so much. She read these 30 years in a row. It's what you do, teachers. You develop incredible practices that mean so much and leave such a lasting impression. And in one of the books, kids today won't know what these are, these cards in the back where you actually check things out. But I found my name in my best third grade handwriting when I had checked it out, so that was pretty cool. So they're treasured reminders of what it means to be taught by someone who is incredibly caring and special, and who not just taught, but really embraced her students. Today, we're here to honor teachers who are like Ms. Druck, who in addition to, teaching day in and day out, go beyond the requirements, who take time to make children feel loved. And the kids who are here today, the students, are incredible to have been able to recognize that at such a young age and to take the time to write their story and share it with all of us. I can't wait to hear those stories. And for the rest of us, I would just offer this challenge that we all think back over the years who made a great impression on us during our educational years, and take some time to reach out, send an email, write a letter, make a call, and let that teacher know, because I think today will show us what a true impact that has, what deep meaning that has to take that time to express gratitude. And as Mayor of Lincoln, I want to express gratitude to all the teachers, educators, and students in this room who make LPS such an exceptional place for all of us. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mayor. Now I would like to invite Lincoln Board of Education President Lanny Boswell to share a few words.
Thank you very much, Jill. So you'd mentioned that your favorite teacher was your high school English teacher, and I have to say it's actually my favorite teacher was my high school English teacher, and I'm still in contact with her on at least a weekly basis now. We get together for holidays. It's my mom, so. It's the easiest question I've ever had to answer. On behalf of the Lincoln Board of Education, we welcome you to our annual Thank You Teacher event. I'd like to take a moment to introduce my fellow board members who are joining us this morning, Kathy Danick and Annie Mumgard. And I'd like to thank our guests for speaking today, Commissioner Bloomstead, Mayor. I'd also like to thank the sponsors for today's event, KFOR, KFRX, with support from the Foundation for Lincoln Public Schools and the Lincoln Education Association. When I'm visiting with other board members from school districts across our state, I brag about our passionate and highly qualified educators. At Lincoln Public Schools, we hire the best of the best, as evident by the numerous state and national teaching awards and honors bestowed upon our teachers every year. It's because of our excellent teaching staff at Lincoln Public Schools that the board has set the ambitious strategic plan goal of reaching a 90% on-time graduation rate. It's a goal that is achievable because of our teachers. We are thankful every day for the educators who dedicate their time and talents to inspire future generations. There is not one person here in this room today who hasn't been affected by a teacher. Teaching is one profession that greatly impacts every aspect of our daily lives. It is the profession that makes all other professions possible. Today we have the privilege of honoring 5 teachers who demonstrate the power that relationships have and the difference that people in our classrooms make. As you will hear today from our letter writers, these teachers' influence ripples far beyond 1 or 2 students. It inspires multiple generations. So congratulations to all of our winners here today. You're an inspiration to us all.
Now we've come to the very special part of our program. Now at this time we have the honor of hearing some of the most incredible letters, which are written by current students, former students, and also parents. We had over 500 nominations submitted from across Lincoln. And each and every teacher nominated does deserve to be recognized for their work and dedication. But we do not have the time to read all those letters to you today. So our committee chose the top submission in each category. So this is really quite an honor to be here and be selected. Here's how this part of the program works, all right? I will call the nominator and the teacher up here to the podium one category at a time. The nominator is encouraged to introduce any guests that they have brought with them and then read their letter. And after we hear from the nominator, we also welcome the teachers to introduce their guests and also to please say a few words. After that, we will present certificates and gift bags, right over here, to both nominator and the teacher. All right, so are we ready? Okay, everybody get your Kleenex ready. You're gonna need this, okay? Every year I keep saying, oh, we do have them on the tables. Perfect, way to go. All right. Our first category this morning recognizes outstanding teachers pre-kindergarten through 2nd grade. And this year, our winning teacher is Chris Sprague, 1st grade teacher at Morley Elementary. Chris is nominated by Kelly Zarnick. Kelly is a parent of Chris's former student, Alex. Will you please come forward?
Hi, I'm Kelly Zarnick, and here with me today is my husband, Brian Reed. Imagine living in a city, schools, and everyone you know leaving a city, schools, and everyone you know to start over and live with someone strange. Being the new kid a few weeks after school has started and having a lot of anxiety in general. But before you start school, your teacher makes you a book with pictures of the classroom, herself, and things you will need to be acquainted with when you start. That's how first grade started for Alex. Throughout the entire first grade year, Alex had to have her 2 minutes first thing in the morning to talk to Mrs. Sprague in order to be able to effectively start her day. And she was given that. Not only that year, but the following year as well, before Alex would trot off to her second grade classroom. There was a strong connection with Mrs. Sprague from the beginning, and this continued throughout Alex's time at Campbell Elementary School. Then it was the end of fourth grade, and Mrs. Sprague was leaving Campbell. Alex was given an Eeyore stuffed animal as a reminder of this wonderful teacher who was not going to be there for the first time since Alex moved to Lincoln. We moved at the same time and ended up at the same school where Alex was able to continue to connect with Mrs. Sprague in fifth grade as well. Mrs. Sprague was more than a teacher, she was a mentor. She always asked about Alex and was waiting with a hug and a smile. This continued throughout Alex's life. Alex kept the book she was given in first grade and the Eeyore stuffed animal. She pulled Eeyore out when she was struggling. She went to events at Morley and made sure to talk to Mrs. Sprague. Mrs. Sprague always had time for Alex. Mrs. Sprague became a friend of the family as well. She understood Alex and some of the struggles we went through at school. She listened when I, as her mom, had struggles with Alex. When I needed to talk or vent, she always had hugs for me as well. That's why when Alex was taken to the hospital and placed on life support, I knew she needed to know. We talked and cried, and after Alex died, she was one of the first to come over and offer support. Again, we talked and cried. Mrs. Sprague is so much more than a teacher. She gives herself to her students and figures out what they need and meets them where they are. For us, she became an extension of our family in some ways, as she meant so much to Alex and to me. She goes above and beyond and truly cares. I know if Alex were here, she would be the first to want to nominate Mrs. Sprague for this award, and it's my honor to do it for her.
Okay. Today I brought my husband Dave, my boys Nicholas and Jacob, and my principal was welcome to come and join me too, Stephanie Drake. I want to start by saying thank you to Kelly and her family for nominating me for this award. When I first learned about the letter, I immediately thought about that relationship that I had with Alex and the relationship I had with Kelly and her family. And then just that flood of memories came back with the 10 years that I got to know Alex. When Alex entered my classroom, I had learned that she had dealt with a lot of life situations that none of us could fathom, nor do we want to fathom them. And I just knew that Alex was going to be a student who needed more than just reading, writing, and math. She was going to be a student that needed to know that she was someone, and we needed to get there with her. So Kelly and I worked together to make life better for Alex. Alex was a girl with big smiles, huge personality, and never short on words. And so making a relationship with Alex was not difficult. She was always open, always smiling, and wanted to be with us. When Alex moved on after first grade, like Kelly said, she would come down to my classroom and we would talk to make sure the day was going well. Then when I moved on over to Morley and Alex went on up to middle school, she'd come back and pick up her sisters and we would get a chance to talk and how is middle school going and how's the new house and especially how are braces and then how is the smile once the braces come off. Learning about Alex's fate was really hard. I called Kelly, we talked, I did a lot of listening. And with the support from my principal, Stephanie Drake, she and I went to the funeral, and we said our goodbyes to Alex. But we know Alex is here. She's got those show choir jazz hands when she makes show choir from East, and she's rooting us on because she knows this is what she would want as well. Being an educator is really rewarding. I chose this profession because I love kids. And I like watching them grow when they learn something new and that aha moment hits. It's pretty remarkable as a teacher to watch that. Making relationships is also a high priority with me. Grow with the family, grow with the kids. My parents taught in Lincoln Public Schools. My mom was at Norwood Park. My dad was at Northeast. And to this day, I can still go out in public and meet students of my father's. And I hear about how great he was in the classroom and how he influenced their careers now. So it's probably then just my role models on why I am today. I want to thank my husband, Dave, for helping with the family and supporting me. I put a lot of hours into this job because I feel like that's what I do to make the job the way it's supposed to be. I want to thank Jacob and Nicholas for allowing their mom to have a little piece of their heart for other kids as well. You know, we talk at home about their day, their school, but we also talk about Mom's Day and her kids at school as well. So I want to thank Lincoln Public Schools. I want to thank Kelly. I want to thank Kelly's family and Alex. I want to thank LEA, KFR, KFRX, Foundations, and LEA for allowing us to be recognized and share stories of students that are in Lincoln Public Schools as well. I'll cherish this. Thanks.
Our next category is 3rd through 5th grade. 5th grade Belmont teacher Bobby Ehrlich, nominated by former student Molly Schnabel. Please come up to the podium.
I'm going to save my introductions for my guests at the end. I am writing to nominate Bobby Ehrlich for the 2020 Thank You Teacher Award. Sorry. It's going to be a while here. Bobby was my teacher in both 3rd and 5th grade at Belmont Elementary School in the early 1990s. I will attempt to describe the impact that she has had on my life, but I hope that the fact that I am nominating her some 30 years later speaks louder than anything that I can put into words. What I remember most about being in Bobby's classroom is the love and individual attention that she showed to not only me, but to all of my fellow classmates. I can say with absolute certainty that Bobby loved all of us as though we were her own children. She got to know us and our stories, and she took care of us when we needed it. I did not fully understand at the time the challenges that many of my fellow classmates were experiencing outside of school. As I grew older with those same peers, I learned that some were living in homes that did not speak English, some were on the brink of homelessness or extreme poverty, and a few had parents battling addiction. What I did understand, even in 3rd grade, is that Bobby gave up her lunches for students that needed one-on-one time. I understood how it felt when she called us at home to check on us if we were sick for an extended time. And I understood that she wanted us to do well, often organizing and sponsoring special projects so we all had an opportunity to feel important, giving us a chance to shine, regardless of what was going on at home. I remember a particular day that I must have been worried about something that would be happening in the evening. I remember Bobby giving me a hug, telling me it would be all right, and promising me that she would check on me first thing the next morning. When I arrived the next day, we had a substitute teacher, but Bobby had left me a note and a picture of her arms giving me a hug. At the time, all I knew was that it felt good to get that note. As a current educator, what I realize now is that she was likely sick or had something else going on outside of school far more important than my 3rd grade problem. And on top of the detailed sub-plans that she had to organize on short notice, she still took the time to come in and leave that note. There are no reading, math, or behavioral interventions that can mimic the feeling of being special. How Bobby made me feel on that day and countless others. I am now a school social worker with Papillion La Vista Community Schools. And over the last several years, I have developed a new understanding of Bobby's influence in my life. In a current educational world that emphasizes test scores, research-based instructional strategies, and tiered interventions to meet student needs, I realize now that Bobby had all of this figured out 30 years ago. She simply loved us. It was because of her love that we felt safe, important, and confident enough to try hard things. I carry her influence with me when I meet with tough students that I don't know how to help. I try to remember the long-term impact that I can have when I've tried every intervention with a kid and am still not seeing success. I remind myself that the one thing that I can control is the love that I show to them, regardless of their behavior or choices, just like Bobby did for me. I have had the blessing of checking in with Bobby every few years when I run into her at various sporting events in the community. More often than not, she is there watching one of her former students, and every time I see her, she asks me about some of the friends I had back in 3rd grade. Oftentimes, she asks me about kids that even I did not remember were in my class. I can assure you that if I put out a request to those students to write a letter of support, not one would hesitate to echo the same sentiments expressed in this letter. The only difference being that their letters would be sprinkled with their individual stories of the times when Bobby made them feel special. So Bobby, as you know, I am now the mother of 2 5th grade girls, the same age that I was when I last left your classroom. They're here today, Reagan and Drew. And to view your impact in my life now through the lens of a mother has only magnified my appreciation for you. It also helps me understand when I called my parents to tell them that you had won this. They were overcome with emotion and would have not have missed this for the world, Virginia and Larry Geiger. And so, Bobby, I would like to say on behalf of myself and my parents, you are the very best, and thank you.
How do I speak after that? I'm blessed today to have my mom and my dad here, my sister and her husband, my brother-in-law, who's been a part of my life as long as I can remember as well, my husband, who's also an educator at Belmont, so we get to share those wonderful experiences together, and our dear principal, Kim Rosenthal. Thank you, teacher. Well, this teacher gets to say thank you. Getting the opportunity to live out our purpose on this earth every single day is a gift. It's that get to. I've never had to or ever had a job. I get to do what I love and I'm passionate and on this earth to do each day. And being a part of the LPS community has been such a very honor. As a teacher, as an aunt, and as a mom of Lincoln Public Schools graduates, I want to thank LPS for being a school district that's innovative and does whatever it takes for children. So congratulations to every educator here today. For 31 years, I've been blessed to call Belmont my home and my family. Thank you to the hundreds of individuals that I've been able to partner with and to educate and inspire with. And it is multiple generations that I've been a part of with the Belmont Cougars. There is a sincere trust between the families and the school, and that's the power of being a Belmont Cougar. One of the greatest joys I've ever had in life, as you just talked about, is being able to collaborate with a parent now who was once my student and now is a parent that I'm partnering with their children as well. And that's happened many times at Belmont. Knowing that Molly has committed her life in a positive way of impacting not only her 3 daughters, but also the young people of Papillion is an inspiration to me as well. You and your classmates taught me way more than I could have ever in my 2nd and 4th year teaching because you loved learning. And even more than that, they had faith in one another and they shared their joy and hope every single day. Gratitude fills my heart here today to celebrate this with you and your family because you've always been my family as well. As Molly said, we've been blessed through the years. It's kind of a coincidence. You never know what's going to happen in life and how those paths cross. but both of our nephews actually are best of friends as well, too. So they are even roommates up at UNO together. So you never know when that little 8-year-old walks in your class how your paths are going to stay connected. No matter what life has thrown our way as a family, our family supports one another, encourages one another, and believes in one another. My parents have demonstrated an unselfish service to others and the mentality to work hard and to be nice to people. And it's an honor to share this with them today and the rest of my family that's here, and those like my son who's training for the military in Arkansas and his wife, my brother and daughter-in-law, and my nieces and nephews who aren't able to be here with us today. A few years into my teaching career, my dad, who was an educator for a lifetime as well, shared a teacher story with me. And the story is about a 5th grade teacher and her first year teaching and the relationship that she had with one of her students. And as the story develops, you see the lifelong impact that this teacher had on this young man. And on the day of his wedding, the young man told his 5th grade teacher, "Thank you for believing in him, for making him feel important, and for showing him that he could make a difference in the world." But the next line of the story is the appreciation that I really share with all of you today, and especially Molly. The next line of the story, the teacher whispers in to the young man and says, "Oh no, you have it all wrong. You were the one who taught me that I could make a difference. You taught me how to be a teacher. Thank you."
Up next, middle school. Jordan Sorge teaches at Culler Middle School, and he was nominated by Leah Eberhardt. Please come forward.
I brought my family, my mom and dad, and 5 of my 7 siblings. I would like to nominate Mr. Sorge for Thank You Teacher because he has made me understand what life is truly about. Last year when I was in 7th grade, he wasn't just my social studies teacher, he was more like my life coach. At the beginning of first semester, I wasn't the best student. I was a leader, but not in the good way. I think I was acting up because of all that I have been through. It has been hard to find my place as a foster adopted child living in a family that is not as quite as diverse as I am. When I was acting out, he made me understand that it wasn't fair to the rest of the class. Mr. Sorge called me on my behavior in a way that made me understand that he was serious, but never made me feel like I was a bad person. Even though Mr. Sorge was supposed to teach me social studies, he made the effort to also teach me how life works. It is so easy for some of us to get frustrated when things don't go our way, and how easy it can be to blame everyone else for our problems. But he showed me that the only way to get respect is to earn it by being respectful of my peers, myself, and anyone I come into contact with. I know he probably doesn't know it, but I feel like Mr. Sorge taught me a lot more about life than he did social studies. It was a very difficult time for me, as it was for everyone else, but without his guidance, my 7th grade year could have been a lot different and a lot worse. I know that the rest of our 7th grade class students and staff would agree with me when I say that Mr. Sorge made a difference at our school, even though he was still a pretty new teacher. Mr. Sorge also helped me realize that things in life aren't always random and that everything happens for a reason. It could be an accident or a choice that one makes, but there is also something to learn. Every time he gave me a pep talk, it felt as if he was saying, "I want you to succeed in life whether you find your dream career or not." He had a way of letting you know he truly cared about you as a person without even having to say it. I would really like to thank Mr. Sorge for what he has done in my life. He never treated me any different than anyone else, even when I felt different because I was adopted. I appreciate that he took the time to help me out when I needed good role models. And I think that is how every one of my siblings felt too. Even though he had to put up with 3 Eberhards in the same grade, he never let anyone of us down. Thank you, Mr. Sorge.
I kept telling my girlfriend, like, I wouldn't cry.
It just happens.
It just happens. Thank you, Leah. What a privilege it is to be here. I brought my mom, Heather, my dad, Curtis, and my stepdad, Kevin, and my girlfriend, Margaret, and then my amazing building principal, Michaela Hahn, is back there, and they all just provide the best support that a young teacher could ask for. As I come up here, I also want to thank some of the teachers and educators that have influenced me on this path. I think of like Shauna Meyer at Lincoln High as I was a student, and Mark Anderson at the Science Focus program, who I practicum for, and Jeff Smith at Lincoln Southeast, who I first got the opportunity to coach for. And the common theme between all of them is they instilled the importance to me of the teacher-student connection. But most importantly, I want to thank Leah. I got the opportunity to meet Leah and her siblings, Georgia and Carson, in my first year teaching. And we would take time out of every day to talk about how we were feeling and what our friends were doing and what we were doing this weekend, and sports and politics and current events and food. Leah and I had a class next to lunch, so we talked about food a lot. And what I got to know about Leah is her capacity for kindness and empathy. When I look at this award, I don't see it as a reflection of me, but more of her. What an amazing writer she is, how reflective she is, the great family and support system that she has, and just the kindness in her heart. She took incredible time and effort to make sure that myself and Color Middle School get recognized, and for that I'm grateful. I'm grateful for my job, grateful for my building, grateful for this school district, but most importantly, I'm grateful I get to work with students like Leah every day. Thank you.
All right, now on to our high school category. Lincoln Southeast music teacher Missy Noonan is nominated by former student Abby Hengis.
I brought with me my dad, Tim Hinges, and my mom, Lisa Hinges, today. I'm currently just a few months out from graduating college and achieving my dream of being a teacher. I've dreamt of this moment since I was little. I love school with all my heart, and I still enjoy it to this day. Now that I'm older and about to step into my very own classroom, I get to think about who I want to be as a teacher. When I think about who I want to be, I can't help but think I want to be a difference maker. I want to be like the biggest difference maker in my life, Mrs. Noonan. I walked into choir on that first day of my sophomore year, anticipating a fantastic year of singing. I knew I was bound to learn some new things, and I was excited to see what songs we would sing. All of those wonderful things did become a reality. However, this was also the start of one of my most special relationships to me to this day. The person standing in front of me was someone who was going to change my life, and I had no idea at that moment. High school can be tough. It's a time of figuring out who you are. It's a time when I personally felt a lot of self-doubt. It was so easy for me to believe that I wasn't good enough in a lot of ways. However, Mrs. Noonan didn't let me believe that for too long. My relationship with her grew quickly, and every day I couldn't help but walk away from choir feeling like I was loved. She intentionally took time out of the day to get to know us. She greeted us at the door, she would ask us about our day, and she truly cared about getting to know us. And this was evident, but this was only the beginning. I was lucky enough to have Mrs. Noonan as my teacher until the day I graduated. Throughout those 3 years, Mrs. Noonan was always there for me. She would always be the first person I'd head to when I was having the greatest day ever or having a tough one. She celebrated with me, and she supported me as I navigated the waters of life. I didn't have to be anyone except the person I truly was. I oftentimes got so caught up in figuring out who I should be, that Mrs. Noonan would repeatedly tell me, let Abby be Abby. I eventually repeated that to myself time and time again. In the end, I was able to confidently look at myself in the mirror and know that I'm someone who is wonderful. Mrs. Noonan spoke such truth into my soul when those teenage insecurities began to take over my mind. When in the presence of Mrs. Noonan, it's hard not to feel like you aren't loved. Year after year, I hear stories about Mrs. Noonan impacting people's lives. She's simply so intentional about appreciating her students right where they're at and challenging them to be the greatest versions of themselves that they can possibly be. As a future educator, I know that relationships matter. I know that learning won't happen until your students trust you and until they believe that you care about them. And, well, Miss Noonan did. This led her to truly being able to bring the best choir experience I could have ever asked for. Those relationships she's formed with her students led it all. Performing can be nerve-wracking. Auditioning for solos can be absolutely terrifying. However, the community she set up in her classroom made everything just a bit easier. When Mrs. Noonan told us it was going to be okay when we sang by ourselves, we believed her. When Mrs. Noonan brought up new ideas, we bought into them because we knew she had our best interest at heart. I remember standing on that stage at Lincoln Southeast High School, smiling as the audience applauded me. I was proud of the performance we gave. However, more importantly, I was proud of the growth that occurred during that quarter, both musically and as a person. Through music, Mrs. Noonan taught us how to be better people than we were the day before. Getting high school students to buy into what you're trying to teach them can be a tricky task, but Mrs. Noonan did, and she did it incredibly well. I thought I was walking into the choir room sophomore year for a choir experience. I got one, a truly incredible one. But as I look back, I got so much more than an experience in choir. I gained an incredible role model, a strong support system, an encourager, and life-changing wisdom. Now, as I'm on the heels of entering my very own classroom, I know that I want to be the kind of difference maker Mrs. Noonan is in my life. I'm going to have students walk into my classroom that need someone to believe in them just as I did. I now get to take all that she has done in my life and share it with the students of my own. I'm going to have the absolute privilege of being their Mrs. Noonan. One of the greatest things about being a teacher is the lessons you teach them today are going to be lessons that they carry with them the rest of their life. Although it has now been 3 years since I have been in Mrs. Noonan's class, the impact she's had on me and the lessons she has taught me have propelled me to where I am today. Mrs. Noonan will always be someone I deeply cherish because of the incredible difference she's made in my life. Thank you.
Well, it is kind of hard to follow when you hear this. As I was sitting here, I was thinking I stand in front of a large choir every day talking to them and singing to them, and this kind of rocks the world a little bit in following through with this. I am both touched and honored to receive this award. Is there Kleenex over there?
Yeah, maybe one more.
I thought I could be strong.
There's no point.
Abby, thank you so much. I do remember when Abby came into the treble choir as a sophomore, and in the beginning, she did everything I asked her to do. She was enthusiastic. She worked really hard. She was a little quiet in the beginning, and then one day, I heard Abby laugh. And Abby's laugh is wonderful. It is loud, and it is a little boisterous, and it is fun, and it is so genuine. And I love your laugh. But I remember at the time, Abby was a little self-conscious about her laugh because it was different than other singers in the classroom. And I remember you saying something to me about that. And I think this led to really a relationship that grew through our love of music and of singing, but of getting to know each other and being open to each other. And there were many days when Abby would come to my office. We had wonderful talks. She would come to my office, maybe something wonderful happened, maybe she had some doubts about something. And then she would send me an email. I'd wake up in the morning, there'd be a long email from Abby telling me something. And then she would start, there might be a project that she would do in class an essay that she would share with me. And eventually I started printing off all of these emails and these projects, and I have an Abby folder, nice thick folder, that is just a wonderful testimonial to you and to your growth as a person and becoming who you are. High school can be, it is very hard when you're 15, 16, 17 years old. Even in your 50s, it can be hard. But I look at those students every day, and they want to learn. They might not admit it. They want to learn. They want to grow. They want to grow into themselves. And I do remember, let Abby be Abby. But I also remember saying, Abby is more than enough. You don't need to be anyone else but Abby. Abby has a heart of gold and is not afraid to show it. I do remember a birthday when she somehow got into my office and had decorated my office and filled the room so full of balloons you could not walk into the room. It was so full. And I see her love of people and joy in life that she takes into her teaching. She knew as a high school student that she wanted to be a teacher. And watching her go through school at Doane University and hearing about all of the practicums and student teaching and all of her honors and awards and accomplishments. And you will be a wonderful teacher. You are a wonderful teacher already. LPS should hire her.
Already on it.
I'm incredibly proud of you, Abby. I really am. And I look forward to following your teaching career. But I think more importantly, I'm looking forward to our continued friendship in life and supporting and loving each other. I have lots of people to thank. I would like to thank LPS for this. I student taught at Southeast High School, so I've been there a long time, and I love Southeast. I have wonderful, wonderful colleagues that I work with in the building and in the Performing Arts Department. My principal, Brent Tolson, is here today. Thank you for all of your support that you give. I come from a long line of educators. In fact, my grandfather was Commissioner of Education in the state of Nebraska, yes. Today with me I have family, my mother, Nancy Huckfeld, and my sister, Shelley. You are my role models in life, and I love you for that. The education gene has been passed down. My daughter, Madeline Noonan, is now a music teacher at Riley Elementary. She's in her 3rd year there, and I'm very proud of you because I see the impact that you make on students every day. She just put on a musical. It was fabulous. Because we're being recorded, and I think my other daughter, who is not able to be here, I do want to give a shout out to my daughter, Samantha, Madeline's twin. She is living in New York City right now and is an aspiring opera singer. And so shout out to Samantha. I love you as well. My mother-in-law, Linda, thank you for your support through all of the years. And to my husband, Brian, whose love and support for me and my wild ideas is never ending. And whether it's picking up choir t-shirts or helping me with a program or sometimes propping me up a little bit at the end of the day with a hug, I love you and I am grateful for all that you do. When I was in college and working through all of my methods classes, and I knew I wanted to be a teacher. This is what I was going to do. But I was also a musician, and I think the music part of it drove me a little bit more in college. It was when I got into the classroom that it kind of did a flip-flop. And I'm always a musician, but I'm a musician second, and I'm a teacher first. And it's those students that you see day in and day out that sometimes can present challenges, but they are what propel you forward, and they are what keep you going. And the challenges are great, but the rewards are greater. And I am truly blessed to be a part of this profession. because it's a joy. Abby, you are a light in my life, and you are going to be a light in many, many, many children in your lifetime. So thank you. Thank you.
I get the feeling it's only going to be a few years before we see Abby being nominated. Sitting right here. In our final category, we have the honor of recognizing a retired educator who has made a lasting impact. Julie Hunter is a retired educator from Irving Middle School, and she was nominated by former student Olivia Nieder. Please come down.
I'm a little bit sick, so hopefully I sound okay. Whenever I pause to think about teachers I've had throughout my life, a lot of great ones come to mind. Almost all of the people who have taught me have had some kind of great positive impact on me, shaping me into who I am today. But when I think of the teacher who impacted my life the most and brought me the most joy, along with quality learning, Mrs. Julie Hunter is always the woman that comes to mind. Miss Hunter was my 8th grade math teacher, and one of the best people I've ever known, helping me understand the subject I had so much trouble with, and bringing joy to me no matter how horrible of a day I'd had. Plus, she shares a birthday with me on May 3rd, which is a pretty interesting coincidence. Overall, there's a lot of reasons why I wanted to write and thank Miss Hunter, and let her know how lovely of a teacher she was to so many people over the years. First, I should probably preface this with the fact that I am not very skilled in math, awful even, and I've never quite liked it as a subject. It has always been something that I've had kind of a hard time understanding, but I've never really been able to get the grades I wanted in the subject. But when I had Miss Hunter, I felt like I understood more than I ever had before, and I dare say math was fun for once. When I began algebra class, I actually started to really enjoy doing problems, and as the year went on, I even gained a budding understanding of the mystery that was mathematics. The amount of energy she gave while teaching was probably one of the biggest factors, too. She always seemed so passionate, which in turn made me enthusiastic, too. Her humor always kept me engaged, and she always had a good joke to get our attention. Even when she did use humor, she was ready to get us straight to work afterwards, making sure no time was wasted while teaching us. Another one of the most notable things about Mrs. Hunter's teachings were her songs. Miss Hunter had a slew of songs that she used to help us remember things. Some well-known in the math community and others her own design. Part of math that's always tripped me up was the memory aspect, so having funny little songs always made things easier to remember. Even today, I still hear kids that had her in class singing her songs, and they've still stuck with us from when she taught them, making sure we all got up and danced before we moved on. Another part of why I enjoyed Miss Hunter's class so much was because how she could cheer me up, even in the absolute worst of times. Unfortunately, while my 8th grade year was amazing in some ways, it was awful in others, mostly in terms of my mental health. Miss Hunter always had the power to cheer me up, even when I arrived in class trying to hide the fact that I was quite worked up and completely without self-esteem. Algebra became one of my favorite classes because of that. It was a shining light in my day and helped me cope with what was going wrong. And for that, I give my deepest thanks to Miss Hunter. She helped me make it through and kept me believing that there was still hope, even if some of the people around you didn't believe in you. If I didn't have algebra class to keep me afloat, I'm sure things would have been quite different today. Finally, one of the core reasons that I wanted to thank Miss Hunter is the amount of fun memories I had of her class aside from the learning. Remembering how many strange inside jokes the whole class had together was very enjoyable, and they made little sense to those outside of the class, but it didn't matter. I specifically remember this one time where Miss Hunter was writing on the board and managed to shoot a dried-out marker into the trash can, and excitedly she began cheering and jogging around like a soccer player who had just gotten a goal, much to everyone's amusement. It was quite a nice break from our learning, but it was also so much fun to laugh together and see Miss Hunter laughing along with us. Looking back, the environment of the class almost felt like a family, and that really helped me feel at ease and not worry about seeking help. It's also probably no coincidence that I met 2 of my best friends in that class, as everyone within those walls bonded because of the friendly and memorable learning environment that we had been put into. I also brought 2 of the things that Miss Hunter gave to me after she retired. She had a bunch of weird trinkets in her room, and I always loved it. Sometimes old teachers I've had come up in conversation, and when bringing up Miss Hunter, there's never a single person that disliked her. Her teaching style was impeccable, no matter who you were, and she would try her best to push you in the right direction and befriend you, guiding you through algebra with a careful hand. Miss Hunter had a strange accumulation of objects she had found, as I just said, toys and knickknacks, and about 5 boxes of raisins that just kept multiplying. At the end of the year, Miss Hunter had a drawing to give out all the stuff, and she was retiring the next year. And our class was her final hurrah. And yeah, so I have my little orange My Little Pony and a strange figure of an old woman with only one moving leg. I don't know, man. It's strange. Both of these toys are ridiculous and never things I would have kept normally, but because of the memories attached to them, I keep them to remember Miss Hunter and how much fun I had with her in class. Since the class ended on the last day of 8th grade, those toys haven't moved from my desk, except for now, and right where I can easily see them. Overall, from what I wrote, you can tell how amazing of a teacher Miss Hunter was, and there's still so much more I could say. She is a humorous, kind, and intelligent woman, and I'm so glad that I got to know her as my teacher and the hero of my 8th grade year. It also makes me sad to know that the 8th graders of the future aren't going to experience an amazing teacher as Miss Hunter, but I'm glad to know that she is now enjoying being retired, knowing she did her job so well, and left an impact on generations and generations of students. So, once again, when I think of great teachers of my past, a lot of names come to mind, but none of them are quite as wonderful as the teacher who granted me an understanding of math, saved my life, and shares my birthday, Miss Julie Hunter.
Well, there goes the script. First of all, I must explain. I had the whole oak chalkboard rail above was filled of nuisance items I would pick up through the years. I had pirates and a lot of box of raisins. Kids would come with raisins from the cafeteria and they'd end up being thrown. And I would just keep talking. I would calmly just take their nuisance item and put it up there and not miss a beat. So she was my last year, one of my last classes in the afternoon. And all through the year, kids go, "What are you going to do with those? What are you going to do?" I said, "Oh, we'll see at the end of the year." I did not have to pack up a thing. Everybody wanted that. They wanted the John Lennon peace sign. They wanted my fraction chart. They wanted everything. So, good thing that happened. So when Mindy Burbach from LPS, Dr. Joel, he's sitting here, what the heck is going on? And so retirement is great. I was on the way to Dallas to do the whole JFK history thing, and Mindy Burbach called in the car, and I thought maybe they lost a check of mine, and I was going to win money, and I really, it did not click, and the windshield wipers are going, and I hung up, and I told my guy Lenny, I said, "I don't know what I did," and I said, "So Lenny, I gave away Happy Meal toys." So, and next of all, she quite underestimates herself. It was algebra diff class, and she is a very, very bright girl. Olivia is very, very bright. Today I brought with me my very, very significant other, fiance Lenny, and my wonderful daughter Rose. My son Joe can't be in here. He's in Denver with work related and couldn't be with us. In keeping with the LPS teacher theme, both Joe and Rose are wonderful products of an LPS great education, both graduates of Southeast. Thank you, KFOR, for a wonderful thank you event. It's always been a boost in the arm for everyone. We'd go, "Yay, that's our science teacher. Good, a counselor finally gets it." And then you'd see an old friend in another school that you might have forgotten about. Oh, they're doing good. This has always encouraged us all, and I was shocked to know that it was 35 years old. I'm probably here and can attribute a successful run at teaching because of my two wonderful parents who are no longer with us. My dad, who after I was snarky or mean or to a neighbor or a schoolmate or my brothers or sisters, he always would scold with, "How would you like to be in their shoes?" And that's when your head would drop. And he knew more about the neighbors and their things than us kids. And so he would also always tell us, you give an honest day's work for an honest dollar. And I see Matt Larson here, and he was our math curriculum specialist. And when I first got my job at Irving, he'd say, math intervention teachers are calling in saying there's only 8, 10, 12 kids in there. You better make sure that works. I've never worked harder in my life with math intervention kids, and I could just hear my dad, you do that job well. And Mom was always a good, healthy daily dose of living the golden rule. Good mom that stayed at home. So anyway, fate smiled on me in 2002 when Dave Van Horn contacted me for a 4/10. I was a stay-at-home mom, and 4/10 mean you had 2 classes. Time would tell that was the best fit for me. In 6 months, I had a couple bumps and became a widow. And the minute I walked in that building, I fell in love with the staff. And Dave Van Horn, that rolled into Hugh McDermott, Suzette Taylor, and my good run ended with the current principal, Jason Shanahan. And the staff and the students were always wonderful, which includes, of course, Olivia. Now to thank you. Since I was notified of this, I have been thrilled, shocked, perplexed, and in disbelief that Olivia, who I am sure is very busy in studies, and now I hear music, and traveling to New York next week with choir. I know she's very busy, and I'm sure she's busy in advanced studies, that she took time to remember me 2 years out of my teaching. She's a bright student and was part of a wonderful, fun group of students in an algebra div class. We had so much fun. It made my job so easy when she had the desire to learn, enjoyed the subject, and she worked hard. And I do think I saw the growth in the algebra, and I wanted to make it fun. In the 70s, when I attended high school and was a girl who was good in math, I was encouraged and it was suggested, and it was called trigonometry back then, and her name was Karen Skokin, and I have no idea where she is now. Since I was good in math, you'd be a good teacher or a nurse in the 70s. I said, okay, but nurses, blood and cuts, I don't do that. So now I am so happy and love to say that Olivia can and will be anything of her desired choosing, because she has been taught and nurtured by a whole host of excellent LPS teachers, and of course her parents too. And there's nothing wrong with teaching, but whatever you want to do, you can do. I would suggest teaching. I will not be surprised in the future when I hear of the success Olivia will have in any field she wants. In closing, I'm not the oldest retiree out there, but I can see my golden years somewhere down the road. And because of Olivia, I can officially and say it's a matter of public record that I did something that mattered well.
Olivia needs to introduce her guests.
Sorry, I forgot. I brought my mom and my dad, Melissa and Dane Nieder. They're over there. Hello.
Olivia, by the way, that little old woman with the one leg that works, that's how life is. Okay. It just works out that way. All right. Congratulations once again to all of our winners. Immediately following today's ceremony, we would like to have each of the winners head up here to the front again. Yes, I realize that. But we are going to take your official pictures this time. All right. I would like to recognize those individuals who made today's ceremony possible and to also say a few thank yous. Thank you, of course, to the folks here at the Governor's Mansion for their wonderful hospitality. You really have truly made this a special morning. Can we please give them some applause? And also, thanks to the LPS Communications team for organizing today's event. And of course, all the planning that leads up to it. Julie Dansky, Brianna Campbell, Josh Genrich, Brian Fitzgerald, David Kane, and also Brian Seiferlein. Round of applause for them. Thank you to the nomination committee, Gary Reber from the Foundation of Lincoln Public Schools, also to Rita Bennett from the Lincoln Education Association and members of the LPS communications team. I'd also like to thank today's sponsors, Lincoln Public Schools, and also KFOR and KFRX of Alpha Media USA, along with the support from the Foundation for the Lincoln Public Schools and the Lincoln Education Association. They also contributed some of our gift bags today. We are filming today's event, and it will soon be available on the LPS website and the LNK City Education Channel. And it's always my tradition that everybody turns around and waves at the camera so that you can see yourself waving at the camera later on, all right? So don't edit that out. All right, and just a reminder, winners, don't forget to head up here to the front for your photos. Thank you again for everybody who joined us today. Please take a moment, thank a teacher who has made a difference in your life. Thanks for coming.